Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome. Welcome to our 30 minutes of reawakening our heart in the presence of the Cosmic Christ and Magdalena, the Divine Feminine. And for those who don't know who I am, who may watch this recording, my name is Brother Sean, and I live a very simple life, probably like many of you watching or who will watch this, where after many years of searching for my truth and not being afraid of Jesus, the Cosmic Christ, I guess I've come to a place where I'm comfortable within my skin about this guy called Jesus, the Cosmic Christ. Though for many years I lived in fear of him, and I guess that was to do with religion, to do with my religious family that I grew up in the Catholic Church in Ireland, where I'm afraid it was very staunch, very negative, and not very positive. To be true to my heart, I would have to say in love that it scared the living daylights out of me for fear of being punished by the parish priest for being naughty, and then the nuns, and then the Christian brothers. I guess they left a hallmark somewhere in my heart where there was a core element of fear. And then when I became a nursing monk for my sin, I never realized how unhappy monks and nuns became because they were stifled. They weren't allowed to live their life that God intended them to live. The rule was sacrosanct. The rule came before anything else. You abided by the rule, and our rule was 14th century, founded in Aachen, West Germany, where the first community of Alexian monks were established, and the mother house is still there today. And because it was Germanic influenced, it was exceptionally strict. And corporal punishment, wearing chains and whipping ourselves, was common practice. But there was a downside to all of that fear. Many who left the monastic order, and others, to be precise, fell out with God. Yes, they fell out with God because of the way they'd been treated by their peers. And I know that for a fact because I spent most of my nursing life supporting priests, nuns and monks who would come to our little retreat healing centre in North Wales, where we would reach out and offer sanctuary, a safe house where they could be themselves, where they could find their true identity. And we avoided at all costs reference to God and religion because it wasn't appropriate, but they knew that they were in a special house where we did live the Christian life, but we didn't enforce it. And it was a very special time meeting such beautiful wounded souls like myself. But you know, the theme for this evening is Jesus the friend. The cosmic Jesus, the cosmic Christ, who is our friend. And maybe some of you who will watch this recording might find that a very challenging statement, Jesus as friend, especially if you have been wounded by religion, wounded by dogma, wounded by encyclicals that are more about keeping the law than embracing the spirit of the law. But I'm not here to condemn the church, because there are many good people still in the Christian church. Just a shame that so many ordinary people especially in the elderly now, who live in fear of hell. And they're afraid to drop their guard and embrace Jesus as friend. Jesus, the cosmic Christ. Over the last few videos, we've talked about friendship. We've talked about the benefits of having a genuine friend in your life. Because in having a friend, you have a soulmate who understands you. Someone you can trust and someone who trusts you. But finding such a friend has to be found in God's time. Not under the influence of drugs or mind-altering substances, and certainly not on a dating agency on the internet. That's just pure lust. But if you're looking for a soulmate, in Gaelic, in Celtic spirituality, we call them an Anam Cara, and the late John O'Donoghue wrote the most amazing book, Anam Cara, My Soulmate. So welcome to this time of reawakening within our heart the opportunity to embrace selfless love. And my first love is the Christ. My first love is God. Because when I look back on my life, the one who's been there for me 24/7, the one who has picked me up and dusted me down, the one who has criticized me lovingly, the one who has rebuilt my confidence and given me the simple tools to self-heal, as well as the many blessings to live this simple life, has of course been the Barefoot Galilean. But I would like to first share with you some of my notes about Jesus the friend. When in the field of human relationships, the parent-child relation comes to an end, when the master-servant connection is abolished, and when the privileges based on sexual position are removed, then what is truly human emerges and remains. And that is friendship. The new man, the true man. The free man is the friend. Existence for others within the regulation and functioning of the social order is necessary, but it is only legitimated as long as the necessity continues to exist. On the other hand, existence with others in unexacting friendliness is free from necessity and compulsion. It preserves freedom because it unites receptivity with permanence. Friendship is the reasonable passion for truly human fellowship. It is a mutual affection cemented by loyalty. The more people begin to live with one another as friends, the more privileges and claims to domination become superfluous. The more people trust one another, the less they need to control one another. How true that is. The positive meaning of a classless society, free of domination, without repression and without privileges, lies in friendship. Without the power of friendship and without the goal of a friendly world, there is no human hope for the class struggles and the struggles for dominance. The inner reason for Jesus' friendship with tax collectors and sinners was to be found in the joy of the Messianic feast, which he celebrated with them. It was not sympathy, It was overwhelming joy in the kingdom of God, a joy that sought to share and to welcome, that drew him to people who were outcasts in the eyes of the law. And we are familiar with that law because Jesus condemned it, because the Pharisees and the Sadducees of his day put so much more emphasis on the written word, the rule, rather than embracing the Spirit and not getting bogged down with the detail. He came really to free us. The dawn of the kingdom is celebrated, as we said, in the Messianic feast, often described as the marriage feast. The regard which Jesus showed for the unregarded and despised when he ate and drank with them was determined by the law of grace. The law of grace. Jesus laid claim to this law by forgiving sin and by living in fellowship with tax collectors, with prostitutes, and I'm sure then with gay men and women, with drug users and drug pushers. So who is this Jesus? And why should I bother myself on becoming a friend of him? Well, first, we need to understand that God did not create religion. Man created religion so as to connect with God. But something happened with that connection. Man's finite mind could not comprehend the infinite mind of God. But man set in place down through the centuries, from the beginning of time, rules and regulations that eventually became so top-heavy that people became afraid of God. We had it all down through the Christian church, where each of the named saints, like Francis of Assisi in the 12th century, he came as a messenger of God, like Moses and the prophets, to liberate the children of God from oppression and to introduce them to a loving God, a compassionate God, a God who is friend. And Francis demonstrated his love of God not by standing in a church all day praying, but by rolling his sleeves up, by getting dust on his shoes, and then coming back to that place and feeling the heartbeat of God's children, connecting with their love, their sorrow, their tears, their sadness, and the violent acts that were committed against them in the name of God's love by unscrupulous messengers. And we've seen that in church history. And I'm sure it has existed in many other religious beliefs as well. Within every religious family, there's always one hungry for power. There's always one who will desecrate a loving act and create a sense of disempowerment, alienation, that will stifle the heart with more emphasis on abiding by the law rather than embracing the spirit of the law. And we see such practices today within the Abrahamic faith, where you have fundamentalist groups who take the letter of the law and turn it in on itself and subject the vulnerable to observing it. So their life really is a non-lived life, because they're living to a rule that they're afraid of. So God, in his love for us, sent us his Son, Jesus, who broke through the law and who introduced humor, joy, peace, laughter, but also gave us an appetite to embrace mystical marriage, to want to know God intimately. And that's why so many men and women surrendered their life to God. But little did they realize that when they entered their convents and monasteries, many had to forsake their true identity and become another person. Not a real person, but a number. And over the years, many of us had our love crushed. I know I did, and I found it very hard. I found it beautiful at times when I was alone in the chapel in front of the Blessed Sacrament. That's when I was most at ease. I found it very difficult in a large gathering, where the emphasis was more on the pomp and the ritual than the freedom of expression. And one dare not question why we do things in such a way, because the answer was always, well, we've always done it this way and we'll go on doing it this way. That for me planted a seed, a restless seed, where I sensed I had to break free from the shackles of fear. And I really did want to know about Jesus, but not the Christian Jesus, Jesus the Son of God, the Ascended Master and Teacher, Jesus the Cosmic Christ. I wanted to understand him. So today, it's important that you and I understand the man who came as the Son of God to set us free from bigotry, from hate, from violence, and especially violent acts against love in ourselves, in our neighbor. Christ consciousness, we know, is heart consciousness. Christ consciousness invites us to embrace the Christ, the cosmic Christ. And my humble belief is very simple, and it may challenge you. You may perceive me as to be something of a heretic. I hope not. But the cosmic Christ Jesus is not only the cosmic Christ, the Son of God, but he's my brother, he's my teacher, he's my bridegroom, he's my friend. And through suffering and rejection and tasting the bittersweet herbs of his passion and carrying the cross of suffering with a joyful heart, we are able to enter into the mystery of love, like Francis, Shrichi Moy, Corrie ten Boom, little Therese of Lisieux, even Therese of Avila, Hildegard of Bingen, and many, many more, even Gandhi. We all have to have the hallmarks of the cosmic Christ in our life. To find that true friend, it means not being demanding, insisting on our own way. It means embracing the spirit of love. And that will challenge us on many levels to try and revisit our life, not through our eyes, but through the eyes of God. And that we see what God has made. And that's why I love the affirmations of the Therapeutae Essenes of Egypt. Magdalena was a Therapeutae Essene, as were many of the great scholars of that time. Because their mandalas, their mantras, their ways of worship always affirmed the child of God within. And they gave us 7 very powerful affirmations to ensure that we never reneged on the gift of love given to us. The gift of a love fun, fulfilled life in service to God, where we can be ourselves, where we're not afraid to laugh or cry, where there's no pretense, where there's truth and honesty, and that's how it should be. And when I'm down and troubled, in pain, I talk to Jesus and I just say, Lord, give me the strength to bless this, but not my will but thine be done. When others misunderstand what I've shared with them in love and immediately jump to their own defense, as many have, then you have to just forgive and let go. There's no use standing there defying all the odds of reason and getting engaged in a battle of wills. We're not here to defend ourselves. We are here, yes, to speak our truth from love. But if someone doesn't like what they hear, then all we ask is that they respect our point of view, as we have respected theirs. So let us try and understand that Jesus, the cosmic Christ, is a friend. He offers us the hand of friendship, to come follow the light, not to become a convert. Jesus was not a Christian. His followers became Christian, meaning followers of Christ. But Jesus was a Jew. He was not an Orthodox Jew. I guess he was a Reformed Jew. But he was Judaic in his life and in his worship. As a Catholic Christian, I'm Jewish in my religion, but I'm Greek in my thinking. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Catholic Christians are Jewish in their religion and worship, but they're Greeks in their thinking. If there's disquiet in your life, in your heart, and you have concerns of your own about this guy called Jesus, the cosmic Christ, why don't you use your gift of free will and sit quietly as you are now and say to him, okay, God, what is this about you? What do I need to know about you? Who are you anyway? Why should I want you in my life? Why should I be your friend? Speak. I am willing to listen. I'm willing to hear. I'm not asking you for a miracle. I'm asking you to help me understand who are you. And we sit with that and we embrace that. And it may come there and then, or it may come the following day, the following month, or the following year. In my case, it took 40 years. A long time. A long time. 40 years of waiting, of persistently waiting. And I'm so glad I never gave in, because I now realize he doesn't take prisoners. He does not take prisoners. He invites you to embrace his love, and he invites you to fall in love with God. He invites you to fall in love with freedom, with joy, with truth, but more importantly, he invites you to honor the I Am presence in your life. And once you honor the I Am presence and show respect to the presence of God within you, there is a mind change, there's a heart change, there's a lifestyle change. And it's changing as we evolve. And the more time we invest in that spiritual journey, the more time we're willing to put aside to listen, to be still, and to allow our heart to reawaken to that love of the cosmic Christ, then we mustn't be surprised when we suddenly hear from so-called fair-weather friends, "I don't recognize you anymore. You're not the friend I knew. You've changed." And so we have to change. We have to come away from a mindset that's driven by fear to a mindset that is inspired by love. So let us dim the lights and let us call on the cosmic Christ. Let us ask the beloved who is here and who is with you to come to us now and speak in love. Let us imagine that we're sat in our garden with an overhanging tree and we're sat right under it, so it becomes an umbrella of love. And where we're sat, our little bunny rabbits come to us. We can hear the beautiful blue tits, the tomtits, the thrush and the blackbirds all singing to us in the tree. And we can smell the dew from the rain yesterday. And we can feel the rays of Brother Sun shining through the tree, creating a beautiful sense of peace. Let us just relax. With every in-breath, let us invite, invoke, and ask Jesus, the cosmic Christ, to come to us now and speak with us, not to us, speak with us. And as we sit there in the garden, we are aware of a presence of love that's so overpowering, yet gentle. And it's like a waft of breezy winds all coming to us, and suddenly we can see the Christ. He's standing before us. And now he gets down on his knees and he sits next to us. And he's touching our feet to help us relax. But he's looking at us. He's looking into our soul through our eyes. And he's conveying a message. What is he saying to you? He's saying to me, hang in there. The world is going crazy now with the shift of energy. Man is turning in on man. As it said in the scriptures, father will attack son and mother daughter. Because they have lost the art of love. I look to you and I ask you to embrace love, the Christ love. And you are aware that the one who's touching your feet is the Christ. He doesn't have to say anything. His presence is enough. Because he's affirming within you as he touches your feet that you are a beloved of God, that you are a child of the Most High, that you are a co-creator of God. You are a spiritual Olympian for love. And with every in-breath that you breathe, you are now taking on the mindset of the cosmic Christ. To step into your power, God's power. To speak your truth from love. And to jettison all baggage, all fair-weather friends, all those who seek to play games with your heart. It's time to cut those cords and it is time to come back into your inner center, your interior castle, where there is love, there is light, there is truth, and there is a blessing. Can you feel that love? Well, now embrace it. In Jesus, the cosmic Christ is not our enemy. He is our friend. All we have to do is to say yes to love. Yes, for the cosmic Christ to come into our life and bathe us in the beauty of divine love.